Something shifted last month, and it wasn't just another headline. What began overseas is already moving into our backyards. If you think this ends with foreign tensions over there, you're missing what's happening beneath the surface. And the planetary alignments, well, they're making it all so clear. As many of you know, recently tension spiked in the Middle East with our ally, and this was over concerns of, nuclear weapons, weapon of mass destruction claims, and the United States got back into play with what appears to be regime change over there, or so we're hearing. Does it sound like a familiar script? If it sounds like deja vu to you, it probably should, because we've been here before. For those of you who don't remember, back in 2003, we had military action framed as necessary due to alleged weapons of mass destruction, which were never found. And that year, Mars was in Virgo, by the way, which ironically is the case now. This isn't chaos. This is precision. It is surgical strikes. It's justified intervention, justified, wrapped in moral reasoning. And, back in 2003, we also had Neptune in Aquarius, which clouded a lot of people's judgment through tech and media. And now what we have is Pluto in Aquarius that is transforming that same tech into tools of control. And it's not just tech. In the second house, it has to do with our resources, our monetary system. Back then, we had Saturn in Cancer, a water sign, which was stirring up a lot of emotional patriotism. But now we have Saturn that is in Aries, about to go retrograde, headed towards the water sign of Pisces. And this is reopening some spiritual confusion and moral gray zones from the last 2.5 years. And don't forget that from 2021 to 2023, we had the U.S. in its Neptune opposition, bringing about peak uncertainty, illusion, and belief collapse. So, we are now currently at a place of having to sort the truth from narrative. If we pay attention to how Mars will be moving through this chart for the remainder of this year, it may give us some insight into how conflict can unfold. With Mars in Virgo in the United States natal 9th house, we're looking at international strategy, fact-based actions. And August 6th, when Mars moves into Libra towards the U.S. natal 10th house, we're probably going to see more campaigns towards diplomacy, more optics that seem to show a coalition of sorts, or messaging that seems more unifying. And this is again in the 10th house with Libra there. This is trying to put on a good appearance. This is window dressing. Now, on September 22nd, when Mars moves into Scorpio in the United States natal 11th house, we are probably going to see more data-driven operations, hidden alliances, digital disruptions, and I would say it would be around this time, and also again in January, when Mars goes into Capricorn in the United States natal second house, is highlighted times where I think that we're most at risk of, as a nation, of having cyber attacks or data breaches. Now, November 4th, when Mars moves into Sagittarius in the United States natal 12th house, we are going to start seeing more ideological reframing of things. Could be trying to, in a covert way, reframe the way that you see the world, or your ideology, your belief system about things. We could see more international expansion going on behind the scenes, and maybe even more stories or headlines about migration. NGOs, charities, USAID. If there's any kind of warfare going on, I really think it's going to be done on the DL during this time. But soon enough, when December 15th hits and Mars goes into Capricorn and moves into the United States natal first house, that is when anything going on behind the scenes from December suddenly comes out in the open. The curtain gets pulled back. I would say by January, anything that had been going on behind the scenes in December, we were probably going to see it more out in the open by January, coming into the new year. But from December 15th onward, I do feel like there's going to be more of a structuring going on, and perhaps some state-backed enforcement of actions, and control over resources and perception is going to be very much coming out into the open. So this is not about battles overseas. It's about setting up systems that affect you and I directly. Now remember, in September, we're coming into holy shift season with eclipses. I will talk more about it in August, but suffice it to say for now that on September 7th, we're going to have a lunar eclipse in Pisces, which could bring some emotional messaging, collective sentiment about things, and, the public mood would definitely be impacted during this time. Then on September 21st, we're going to have a solar eclipse in Virgo that is bringing some big shifts in policy and perception. This is going to oppose Neptune and retrograde Saturn, revealing what's real and what's just narrative. Basically, from July 9th to November 1st, Saturn retrogrades into Pisces, forcing us to reevaluate what we've accepted as truth from 2023 to 2024. Think of this as a cosmic fact check. And here's what most people don't realize. We're already living through a kind of war. One with no uniforms, no announcements, no front lines. It's been called next generation warfare, where influence, emotion, media, and tech are the tools. And it's not about explosions. It's about shaping how you feel, what you believe, and how you behave. Your phone, your food, your digital footprint, these are now strategic terrain. And under Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus entering Gemini next month, impacting for the next 8 to 20 years, this influence is only going to accelerate. And in the background, powerful partnerships are forming. We have a major predictive tech firm tied to military ops, and that's gaining influence. We have leadership, which has deep political connections, even helping to shape who's now in charge. We have systems, first that were tested abroad, and now being integrated here at home in the US, using public sentiment to justify expanded monitoring. And there are promises of safety and order, but history shows us that these tools, built for one group, can be redirected. And recently, there's been certain political figures who have started distancing themselves from the very groups that helped elevate them, while shifting their tone on national security and migration. So with Uranus and Gemini, we're seeing AI, data, and dual narratives. Pluto and Aquarius, we're seeing systematic transformation, and Neptune and Saturn and Aries, we're seeing moralized power structures. We have to ask what happens when these tools get pointed inward. Stay aware, stay grounded, stay sovereign.